Why did the podcast host go broke? Because he couldn't stop casting out his money on new microphones. Chuckles. Now, don't worry, we're not here to tell bad jokes all day. We're here to guide you into the world of podcasting, a realm where your voice can reach and influence thousands, even millions of people around the world. Now, isn't that exciting? We're going to talk about, talking. More specifically, we're going to talk about how to start a podcast, the tools you'll need, and how to make it engaging and fun. We'll explore how to grow your audience using platforms like YouTube and Instagram, and even how to avoid going broke buying all those microphones. We'll also pepper in some real-life examples and book references. Even if you're a complete novice, by the end of this video, you'll have a pretty good idea of where to start. So buckle up and get ready to dive into the world of podcasting. Starting a podcast isn't as hard as finding a needle in a haystack, but it does involve a few steps. So let's dive in, shall we? Step 1. Conceptualize. This is where you brainstorm and let your creative juices flow. What's your podcast going to be about? Cooking? Tech trends? Alien conspiracies? Choose something you're passionate about because your enthusiasm will be infectious. Remember, your podcast is like a dinner party. You're the host, and you want to keep your guests entertained. Next, consider your format. Will your podcast be a solo show, an interview-based series, or maybe a narrative storytelling? Each format has its own charm. A solo show allows you to express your unique voice, while an interview series brings in diverse perspectives. Narrative storytelling, on the other hand, can transport your listeners to a whole new world. Choose a format that complements your concept and style. Now let's talk frequency. How often will you release episodes? Weekly, bi-weekly, monthly? Consistency is key. You want your listeners to know when to expect new content, just like how we all eagerly wait for that next episode of our favorite TV show. Step 3. Select a hosting platform. This is the digital home for your podcast. There are many to choose from, each with its own features and benefits. Some are free, others charge a fee. Some offer detailed analytics, others focus on ease of use. Do your research, compare your options, and choose what suits you best. Finally, the fun part, recording your first episode. This is where you bring your concept, format, and hosting platform together. It's your moment to shine, to share your thoughts, ideas, and stories with the world. It may feel a bit daunting at first, but remember, even the greatest podcasters started from scratch. So, take a deep breath, hit that record button, and let your voice be heard. And voila, you're on your way to becoming a podcasting superstar. Now, you wouldn't go to a gunfight with a knife, would you? Similarly, you need the right equipment to start a podcast. Think of podcasting as a grand feast. Your story, your voice, and your passion are the main course. But just as a meal is incomplete without the right utensils, your podcasting journey would be incomplete without the right tools. Let's dive into the essential utensils, or rather tools of the podcasting trade. Let's start with the microphone, the most important tool in your podcasting arsenal. It's your paintbrush, your chisel, your pen. It's how you'll communicate your story to the world. You don't need a gold-plated, diamond-encrusted microphone. No, what you need is a good quality microphone that can capture your voice clearly and accurately. A USB microphone is a great start for beginners, offering a balance of quality and affordability. Next, headphones. Here's a secret. Podcasting isn't just about speaking into a microphone, it's also about listening. You'll need to hear yourself as you record, and you'll need to listen to your recordings for editing. So invest in a pair of closed-back headphones for clear, isolated sound. Now let's talk about recording software. This is your canvas where your voice, your story comes to life. There are numerous recording software out there. Some are free, some are not. Some are simple, some are complex. Choose one that suits your needs and your budget. Audacity, for example, is a free, user-friendly option that's great for beginners. Finally, let's not forget about the environment. A quiet, well-lit room can make a world of difference to your recording quality. No one wants to hear a podcast with the sound of traffic or the neighbor's dog in the background. So find a quiet corner, set up your equipment, and get ready to record. With these tools in your arsenal, you're ready to conquer the podcasting world. And remember, the most important tool is not something you can buy. It's your passion, your voice, your story. So gear up, get ready, and let the world hear your voice. Remember, a podcast without video is like a movie without popcorn. It's just not complete. Imagine this. You're seated in a cinema, the lights dim, and the screen lights up. But instead of the latest blockbuster, you're watching a podcast. Not just listening, watching. This is the power of video podcasting. It's a feast for the senses. creating a more immersive and engaging experience for your audience. But how do we integrate video into our podcast? Well, let's dive right in. First, you need to decide if you want to record your podcast as a live video or shoot the video separately. Live video recording allows your audience to see your reactions and expressions in real time. This can create a more authentic connection with your audience. On the other hand, shooting the video separately gives you more control over the final product. You can edit, add effects, and make your podcast look like a Hollywood production. Whichever method you choose, make sure you have a good camera and lighting setup. You don't need a fancy camera to start. Even a smartphone with a good camera can work wonders. Just remember, the key to a great video is good lighting. Now let's talk about platforms. YouTube is the most popular platform for video podcasting, but there are other platforms like Vimeo and Dailymotion that you can explore. Depending on your target audience, you may want to consider posting your video podcast on multiple platforms to reach a wider audience. And finally, don't forget to promote your video podcast on social media. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, these platforms are your friends. Use them to share snippets of your podcast, behind-the-scenes shots, and other engaging content to draw in your audience. So, there you have it. Lights, camera, podcast. You're not just a podcaster anymore. You're a content creator, a storyteller, a director. You're the star of your own show. So are you ready to be the star of your own show? Being an engaging host is not just about having a charming voice, it's about drawing your audience into your world. So how do you do that? Here are some tips and techniques that can help. Firstly, embrace the power of storytelling. Stories are the lifeblood of engagement. They're the glue that binds us together, that makes us feel seen and heard. So when you're podcasting, weave a tale. It doesn't have to be a grand drama or a hilarious anecdote. Even the simplest story can draw listeners in if it's told with authenticity and passion. Next, ask questions. Not just rhetorical ones, but real thought-provoking questions that invite your audience to engage with the content. It might seem strange to ask questions in a medium where you can't hear the answers, but in reality, it's a powerful way to stimulate thought and create a sense of conversation. Don't forget to use interactive content. This could be anything from quizzes and polls to calls for listener stories or feedback. This gives your listeners a chance to become part of the podcast, to feel like they're contributing to the conversation. It's a great way to build a sense of community and engagement. Also, remember to use your voice effectively. Vary your tone, speed, and volume to keep things interesting. And don't be afraid to show your personality. After all, your listeners are there for you, not just the topic you're discussing. But perhaps the most crucial part of being an engaging host is simply to be present. Be there with your audience in the moment. Listen to their feedback, respond to their comments, and always be willing to learn and grow. And finally, keep things lively and fun. A sense of humor can go a long way in keeping your audience engaged. Remember, podcasting isn't a lecture, it's a conversation. So keep it light, keep it interesting, and above all, keep it real. Remember, your podcast is a conversation with your audience, so make it count. Building a podcast audience is like planting a tree. It takes time, patience, and a whole lot of love. The process doesn't end when you hit publish. That's when the real work begins. One of the best strategies for growth is to promote your podcast on social media platforms. Like a bird singing its song to the world, your podcast needs to be heard. YouTube and Instagram are great platforms to amplify your voice. Share snippets, behind-the-scenes footage, or even full episodes. Remember, consistency is key. Another essential factor is engaging with your listeners. Be responsive to comments and feedback. Create a community where your audience feels heard and valued. This interaction not only strengthens your relationship with your listeners, but also attracts more followers to your podcast. Remember, growing an audience is a marathon, not a sprint. So stay patient, stay consistent, and most importantly, stay engaged. So keep watering your podcast tree and soon you'll see it grow. And that, my friends, is how you start a podcast from scratch. We've laughed, we've learned, and most importantly, we've uncovered the secrets to launching your very own podcast. From understanding the basics to gathering your tools, setting up your stage, and mastering the art of engaging conversation. We've also discussed the strategies to grow your audience using platforms like YouTube and Instagram. Remember, the world is your oyster and your podcast is your pearl. It's a platform to share your unique voice and stories, to connect with people and create an impact. Don't be afraid to start small. Every great podcast once started as a mere idea. The journey may seem daunting, but with the right tools, the right attitude, and a dash of humor, you're more than equipped to dive into the exhilarating world of podcasting. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video with your friends. And of course, subscribe for more amazing content. Happy podcasting!